being a mom and then also being an OB-GYN and seeing hundreds and hundreds of patients throughout their pregnancies, postpartum, I have seen firsthand people that don't have support. It's hard. Your body has just grown a human and then gone through one of the most strenuous processes, whether you had a vaginal delivery, a C-section, your body is physically healing while also now being in needing to care for a new little human that can't do anything for themselves, right? Like, so it becomes you and if you have it, the support that is around you. And so if it is only you, that's gonna look completely different than someone who has a really well-stocked support system, if you will. Partners, husbands, aunts, uncles, grandparents, sisters, siblings, and all of the things. I tell people, I deliver babies. I'm like, but I wasn't ever anybody's mama. I wasn't nobody's mama. I was somebody's auntie. I didn't change diapers. I done all of the things. But I wasn't nobody's mama until I was somebody's mama. And that looks a whole lot different. You know, when you're the ultimate responsible entity, and if you're nursing, that's or if you're pumping, even if you're not doing any of those things, the baby still got to be fed every couple hours, you know. So it is something that is unrelenting, and having that support is crucial.
Over the years, since I was a younger parent, a lot of my friends who were older, they talked about postpartum more, and so that was something that when I was young that they didn't talk about. So when I look back, when I had Jarnae, I wasn't married. And her dad, we didn't live together. So I came home to my mom and my little brother. And the crazy thing was, if I look back on it, I didn't fall into a slump. I wasn't depressed. But my little body was, I'm hurting and all that. But my mom and my brother, when I tell you, they waited on me hand and foot. And they loved on me. And then I had this family where we kind of all lived around each other. So we would gather on weekends. Now that C-section, honey, I had 2 kids, so I thought I would be okay. But when I got home, that C-section was a new beast. I was all about getting back to work. As a salon owner, outside of collecting that weekly booth from everybody else, I wasn't making no money unless I was doing somebody's hair. So I wasn't even giving myself time to reset. I was like, okay, if I can heal up in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I can get back and do all this hair, because we know the body is strong. I pushed the mind and the body as a young woman with the good graces of God to give me good health and to give me good mental health, because I do realize that you can spiral.
It is crazy. In training, it'd be like, okay, people get their letter for 6 weeks. I didn't have a baby then. You didn't think anyway. Or if they had a C-section, maybe 8 or 12. Okay, they bring their papers. You just sign it. And after I had my daughter, I was like, how the heck? You sure you want to go back to work? And not from an ability standpoint.
No. I know what you're saying.
But like the bonding, and I remember wanting to be with my baby, and like the protect and the instincts and all of those things. I also think back to patients coming in. They had a baby 2 weeks ago, asking if they could go back to work. And I'm like,
it's not healthy.
If you don't have that support, if you don't have people that are coming and bringing food or can say, girl, if you need something financial and you need these times off, I'm gonna help you out. And if you don't have that, that just speaks to parental leave in this country, which is a whole nother issue.
Conversation.
But I recognize that some people do have to go back. Sometimes people don't realize, like, my body's not ready for this, but because they're in survival mode and they realize I have to go, and I have a baby that I have to take care for, and I have to do this. So I think that's something else that we have to consider in the conversation outside of, us in this room, that like everyone's, like you said, their postpartum journey and experience is so different, and they're all dealing with different elements that impact what they do and how they get to move in that time frame.
I don't know if I was on automatic, but I was on whatever is needed. And that's a harsh way to be sometimes, because I raised 3 girls and I would tell them, get it together. We got this, And maybe sometime I could have been just a little bit more soft.
And can I add to that point, it's an innate characteristic, like quick recovery. I've benefited from having that because it's also another word for resiliency. Yes, I had the model postpartum support system. A month before her 1-year-old birthday, myself and her dad, we separated. And so that brought on a whole onslaught of emotions. I think really just gave life to some of the low moments that I was having during my postpartum, but I didn't sit in the low moments long because I had the support around me. But unfortunately, grieving a marriage, because him and we were married at the time, that it seemed like it had compounded and it became all extremely heavy. Luckily, I was able to transition and move at my family home where I had, even that closer proximity with my family. So I would say it was, part one of my journey before my daughter was 1. Yes, the model set up, and then part 2, that's where the chemical imbalance really took place. And I actually ended up I did get therapy. I enrolled in therapy to help process the grieving of my marriage, and then grieving of just the identity of being a wife, of having the nuclear family that I built over the last 6 years that had collapsed. So it's like it was 3 years, right? Postpartum is 2.5. Like, what's the typical postpartum?
Usually within like that first year. But I mean, the kids are still growing, so it's
right.
But it's just an ongoing spectrum of motherhood. But usually with
it really just came to a head now for me to really sit and be like, okay, actually, this was a convoluted era for me, and so, but I quick recovery did take place.
Being overly productive, and I'm here. Oh, baby, I'm lifting you up.
But it also gave me a moment to be still, having the privilege to be still, because it is a lot of people don't have that. It is. And I acknowledge that. So,
and she would say it. Thank y'all.
To have a soft landing. Everybody's journey looks different. And, having all those different components to process, but it made me who I am today.
So. Yeah, absolutely.